then the next method for gene transfer in bacteria is transduction, and transduction is mediated with the help of bacteriophages, which are viruses. So class, what we did not discuss when we were discussing the three methods, conjugation, transformation and transduction, that all three methods come under the category of horizontal gene transfer. So in bacteria, you can have horizontal gene transfer or vertical gene transfer. So vertical gene transfer is when, for example, the DNA replicates and the two daughter cells are formed by binary fission or by cell division. So then this chromosomal DNA is transferred from mother cell to the daughter cell. So this is called as vertical transfer. On the other hand, transformation, conjugation and transduction, they come under the category of horizontal transfer, because in this case you do not inherit the DNA from the mother cell. Instead, the DNA is taken up either from the environment, which is, for example, in case of transformation where you have uptake of naked DNA, or it is coming from another cell, which can be completely nothing to do with the pedigree. It can be completely from another genera or from another um, kingdom. And in the third category, it is mediated through viruses. So when we talk about transduction in yesterday's, on Wednesday's class, we discussed the lytic cycle, lysogenic cycle. You remember that? So I just wanted to show you how the plaques look like. So this is a typical, because you people have not done the labs, that's why I thought. So so the way we can examine that lysis has taken place is, what you do is you prepare L-agar plates, and onto the L-agar plates you actually prepare a layer of soft agar. Okay, and this soft agar contains confluent of bacteria. So if I make this plate big, so these are actually lots of, so the background has all bacteria, and what you can see is the clearance zones. Can you see that? So these clearance zones are the zones where the lysis has taken place because of the attack by virus, and these are called as plaques, Plaques, plaques. And therefore, when we count these plaques, just like bacterial colonies, which are called as colony forming units, these are called as plaque forming units. So the way we do is we prepare the host cells, and then we mix the host cells with a mixture of with a phage lysate, and then you add soft agar, and then you overlay it onto the L agar, and then you incubate it in the incubator at 37 degrees if it's E. coli, and then next morning you will see these plaques. Okay, so these plaques represent lysis.
Ma'am, so the plaques are just basically the spots on the petri dish.
Yes, so these are not the spots on the petri dish. So you imagine that you have a petri dish which is layered with luria agar, ठीक? So this is like solid agar. All right. Now you have a test tube. In the test tube, you have the bacterial culture in which you want to perform transduction. ठीक? And then what you add is you add the virus, and then you add soft agar. So soft agar is, it's called soft agar because here the agar percentage is very less. So you add soft agar, and then you mix this slurry and just pour it onto the L agar plate. So the L agar plate is very hard solid, but onto it when we pour this soft agar, so this soft agar has mixture of bacteria and viruses. So onto the entire plate, like this whole background is actually the growth of bacteria. And wherever the bacterial cell is attacked by the virus, you see these plaques. Is it clear or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And these are called as plaque forming units, PFU over here, plaque forming units. So you can, so this is how you can actually determine the titer of the phage. So when we talk about phages, just like bacterial cells, so we say that one OD is 10 to the power 9 cells, right? Or for example, 0.4 OD is 2 into 10 to the power 7 cells for E. coli. So likewise, you need to have some count of phage, viruses as well, right? Because when you want to perform infection, you would like to know that what is the number of virions, what is the number of virus particles which you are going to, which you are incubating it with the bacterial samples. So for that, the term that is used is called titer. And the way to determine the titer is by performing this Black assay. So that will tell you, so the term that is used is called titer. Titer. Way titer is determined is you calculate the PFU, plaque forming units, and that will tell you that okay, roughly you had incubated with, let's say, 500 microliter or 1 ml of virus lysate, viral lysate, and then you got like this many PFUs. So this is roughly the titer. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then, so when we talk about lytic phages, the examples are actually P1 is a lytic phage and also P22. P1 and P22 both are examples of lytic phages. The temperate phages, lambda, right? And I told you about M13 that it is a lytic phage, but it will not give you this PFU. It will not form plaques, it will not form clearance zones. And we discussed in the last class that because the M13 phage is filamentous in shape, so therefore these virions or these virus particles, they can be released from the cell with the tiny pores of the cell, and this doesn't result in lysis of the cell. So in case of M13, you will not see these plaques. Okay,
Ma'am,
yes.
can you talk about like M13 like
M13, okay. So
yes.
M13 is actually a filamentous phage. It's a filamentous phage, roughly 6.7 kb in is the genome size. It contains 11 proteins. Two, I do not know how much detail should I tell you. 2, 5, 10 are for replication, and 1, 5, and 11 for assembly, and 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are for coat protein. And the structure of this filamentous phage, this looks like a it's elongated, so it is 6 nanometer in diameter and 11 nanometer in, like very thin and slim. And the way this 6.7 kb genome of filamentous phage replicates is by rolling circle model. So you have single stranded DNA generated in the life cycle, and this single stranded DNA is actually used when Sanger, so these days sequencing has been developed up to an extent that you have next generation sequencing technologies. But when the sequencing was developed, it was initially people used to use M13 phage for preparing the single stranded DNA for sequencing. So I'll be telling you in details like how single stranded DNA will be prepared by M13 phage. And then we will discuss Sanger sequencing, but let me first finish transduction in today's class.
Ma'am,
M13 phage, yes.
मतलब ये what it does, I wanted to know that मतलब कि ये I didn't wanted to know all these details. I just okay.
Lyse the cell, okay, it does not lyse the cell, but it is a So lytic, so the only reason I brought this up over here is that the class is aware of two types of phages, virulent phages and temperate phages, right? Temperate phages ka example is lambda, which can exist in both lytic and lysogenic cycle, correct? Virulent phages ka example I told you is P1 and P22 because these are virulent because they can lyse the cell. So these are completely lytic phages. But then M13 is kind of intermediate because in this case it is not integrating in the chromosome of bacterial cell. That means it is not exhibiting lysogeny, correct? But it is actually it is when it infects, it produces virions, it produces virus particles without lysing the cell. समझ गए? Followed? But keeps producing.
मतलब I didn't understand how what happens.
First, so the point is, it is very because of its thin structure, it escapes from the cell membrane without lysing. And therefore what you will
Okay, ma'am.
see
Okay.
is regions of reduced growth.
Oh, okay.
Plaques, you do
Okay.
not see big colonies. So see, when you have a virulent phage, you are going to see plaques like this, correct? When you have
Yes, ma'am.
when you have lysogeny, that means integration, you will see normal sized colonies.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. It integrates into the
Yes.
chromosome.
On the other hand, in case of M13, you will see reduced growth. That means you will see colonies only, but then they will be tiny. They will not be normal sized because from these colonies continuously the virions are being released at a rate of about 1000 particles per hour. Okay. So then,
Yes, ma'am.
for so then I think let me tell you a little bit about more about these phages. So M13 I told you is 6.7 kb. Lambda phage is about 50 kb, and you will learn in a second that why these sizes are important. And then P1, P1 phage is kb. Okay, so what it tells you class is that an M13 is 6.7 kb. So what it tells you class is that in lambda phage, right, when the genome size is 50 kb, so out of this 50 kb, the essential regions are cos sites. Cos sites are the sites, they are approximately 200 base pairs in length and they are present at the ends of the 50 kb region, right? So 200 base pairs in length and present at the ends of the phage DNA, and they are single stranded. And other than if we take out the genes which are for phage replication, for phage assembly, then you can actually package about 40 kb of foreign DNA. Total length is 50 kb, so exact length you will find in some books it's 48.5 kb, but in general we say 50 kb, but it's actually 48.5 kb class. So out of this 48.5 kb, 8.5 kb is actually required for its replication and for its assembly, but the remaining 40 kb of the phage DNA can be replaced and can be substituted by foreign DNA. So what it tells you is that you can package easily without any problem 40 kb of foreign DNA in lambda phage. Likewise, in P1 phage, you can package approximately 100 kb DNA. And I will tell you in a second that why in lambda phage it is 40 kb and why in P1 phage it is 100 kb. In case of M13 phage, because it's a filamentous phage, it is prone to breakage by shear damage. So therefore in this case it is not a good idea to increase the total length by 10 kb, which includes Faj DNA or nDNA. So in any cross more than 10 kb, if it crosses more than 10 kb, then the Faj will become too elongated and then it will be damaged, right? So it will become
Ma'am,
difficult to handle.
but in case of like lambda Faj and that P1, how that happens? Like you said that
Yes.
like 10
So
kb is better for um like 10 if it is 10 kb, it will be easily transferred from one cell to another. But in
no,
that case, how?
hold on. So M13 phage. So in the last class I told you M13 phage is a filamentous phage. ठीक? Elongated shape, almost like your pen or pencil. Got it? On the other hand, lambda phage and P1 phage, they are not like filamentous. They are not like your pen or pencil shaped. They have an icosahedral head. So they are like a big hexagon, and then the structure is very different. It has a long tail, which looks like a mosquito sitting in. So maybe I'll show you. I think I have the figure. Let me see if I
Ma'am,
have
that
the.
we have seen.
Huh? Say it again.
Ma'am, that we have seen lambda Faj,
Yeah,
how
see,
it
it
looks
looks
like.
like this, like your benzene ring,
Yes,
है ना?
yes.
Whereas the M13 phage will be like this, the phage, I mean, it will be like filamentous. Okay, so filamentous phages can escape. On the other hand, lambdoid phages, the structure is big, so they require, for example, certain receptors on the surface of E. coli. So these receptors are called LAMB receptors, and it is the LAMB receptor which recognizes the LAMB receptor should be present on the surface of E. coli, and then only that E. coli will be recognized by lambda phage. If you do not have LAMB receptor on the surface of E. coli, then that E. coli will not be infected by lambda phage. Okay. So therefore,
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
in case of lambda phage and P1 phage, the structure is such that even if you have entire 50 kb or 100 kb, you do not have any problem related to shear damage or shear stress. So these are kind of robust phages. But M13 phages, because the moment the genome size would increase, the length would increase, and the moment the length would increase, the phage length would increase, and therefore the filament would become long, and then it will become difficult to handle. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So then before we go to the transduction, this is the typical genome of lambda phage. So you see that there are genes for the coat proteins, the head genes, the tail genes. And what is important to show you over here is that in case of bacteriophage lambda, there are two genes, right? CRO and C1, which are required for maintaining the lytic or lysogenic cycle, because lambda phage can exist in both ways. It can show lytic cycle or it can show lysogenic cycle. So let me show you how. So this is the typical diagram showing the cycle of the lambda phage. So you have a bacterial cell. What is shown in green is the lambda phage. So lambda phage attaches to the host with the help of LAMB receptor. So LAMB receptor has to be on the surface of the bacterial cell. Onto this receptor, the lambda phage will bind. The moment it binds, it
Ma'am,
attaches.
okay.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes.
slide was not changed. I think now it is changed. Okay.
Oh, so again, this is something to do with Teams. I didn't do anything. Okay. So can you see the lytic and lysogenic cycle?
Yes, ma'am. We can see now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then over here, so the moment it attaches, the virus particle is injected inside the bacterial cell. The moment it is injected, then synthesis of viral proteins takes place, because the viral DNA will start replicating, and then more and more viral DNA will be formed. The viral proteins will be formed, which will be required for the assembly of the virus. So what you see on the right side is that because of the rapid replication of lambda DNA, the the lambda DNA gets packaged in the viral head, and ultimately the cell lyses and large number of virions or virus particles are released. So this is lytic cycle. On the other hand, on the left side is the lysogenic cycle. So in this case, instead of switching to the lytic cycle, the lambda DNA gets integrated in the host chromosome. Now the question is, where exactly it can integrate? Can it integrate anywhere in the chromosome? So the answer is no. It cannot integrate anywhere in the chromosome. It integrates at sites which are called as ATT or at sites. Okay. At for attachment. So it integrates at sites in the chromosome. If you do not have at sites, it cannot integrate in the chromosome. And then the moment it integrates in the chromosome, it is called as a prophage now, and then it can be maintained in the form of lysogenic state, and then it can keep maintaining its lysogenic state. But under conditions of, for example, some kind of DNA damage, some kind of stress, or some kind of SOS response which is induced as a result of any kind of DNA damage or any kind of stress, then this lysogeny is actually induced. So this is called as induction event. So this switches from lysogenic to lytic cycle now as a result of this DNA damage. And what happens is that this prophage, that means that the lambda DNA which was integrated in the chromosome, it pops out, and then it now exists as an independent entity, and then it will again start replicating and making viral proteins, and then it can switch to lytic cycle, which is shown in the right. Up to here, is it clear?
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, so now the next figure actually shows how exactly this attachment happens. So this is the typical at site. ATT is at for attachment. What is shown in blue? What is shown in blue is for bacterial DNA, and what is shown in black is the phage DNA. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
In the chromosomal DNA, the attachment site is present, flanked by two genes, one for galactose biosynthesis and one for biotin. So gal is for galactose and bio is for biotin. BOB is actually, B is for bacteria, and O is the ATT at site, which is approximately 15 base pairs in length. Class, you need to understand this carefully, because people have developed lots of new cloning technologies and integration methods using this whole idea of lambda um, being attached to the at sites. Okay, so try to understand this carefully. So in the bacterial chromosome, which is shown as blue, what you see is that the at site is flanked by gal and bio genes. Okay, and BOP, B is for bacteria. B and B prime are just the bacterial genes which are flanking the at site, which is 15 base pairs in length. Okay, in the phage DNA also you have POP, where P represents phage. P and P prime represents phage DNA. B and B prime represent bacterial DNA. Okay, and O is the at site, 15 base pairs in length. Up to here it is
Yes, ma'am.
okay. And then what you see is
Yes, yes.
R and A are the, let's say, some other genes which are representing the Faj DNA. Now, as a result of the, enzymes integrase and exogenase, what happens is that recombination takes place. Now, let me put it in slideshow and then I'll show you the cursor. How exactly recombination takes place. So recombination will take place at site, right? Because O and O are common. This O and this O is exactly same. This 15 base pair
Oh,
sequence
so
is
ma'am,
exactly same.
both the sequences are same. Okay.
That 15 base pair sequence is exactly same, and that is why it is called at site.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
And I'll show you in a second the sequence of that at site. Okay. So the way the recombination happens is, so this you need to understand carefully. So it will go like this, gal, and then CB, and then O is the place where recombination is going to happen. So this O and O will recombine, right? So B, O, and then P prime, then this, then R, then A, right? Then P, then O, and then B prime, and then bio. Followed? So whenever recombination happens, you are going to read like this. Always, it's going to go like this way, it's going to loop. You are getting my point? Like this way. You're not going to draw
Yes,
like
ma'am. Yes.
this. समझ गए? Everybody
हाँ,
followed?
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
He followed. Vishanta,
Yes,
are
ma'am.
people there? Satyakam is there today or no?
No, ma'am, Satyakam's not here today.
Okay. So hope you got this idea. So ultimately, when it has integrated with the help of the enzyme integrase, you see that now it exists as prophage, and this is the lysogenic state where you have gal BOP, and then you have the phage DNA and POB, and then bio. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So then this slide shows the sequence of this 15 base pair at site. So you see there are multiple T's. So this is exactly the sequence. And then let's see over here. So hope how it exists as prophage is clear from this diagram, that how the phage DNA has integrated and now it exists as prophage, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let
So, ma'am,
us
it is very very specific. Like it can only bind to a specific sequence.
exactly, and that is why the transduction mediated by this phage is called specialized transduction, and that is why I thought I'll explain you this and then we'll go to transduction. If you have understood that it is very specialized, then my job is done. I mean, it will become very easy for you to follow in the next slides. So now,
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, is it just only one sequence is there for all the files, or there are different sequences at that ad site available for?
it is present in the phage DNA, it is called at P, and when it is present in the bacterial DNA, it is called at B. B for bacteria, P for phage. ठीक?
Ma'am, I was saying that are there different sequences available for different phases, or just this one, or just only one sequence is available? Uh, uh,
So,
like
right. So, Ratnesh, so to answer this question, so P1, P22, they do not require any such sequences. So, till date, lambda phage is the only one which has been studied up to that detail, that people know that, okay, at site is there, but others are not yet studied in this much detail. So, you do not
ma'am,
have that.
I was saying. I was saying that just in lambda phases, matlab, are there variants of lambda phases in which
No, there
in
are
one lambda phase
no,
this
no,
15 base
no variants.
15 base pair sequences and another pair sequences, just one. So,
No variants are available. It's just this sequence
Okay.
only. At B, at
Okay.
B, that's it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so then we discussed that you can have lysogeny, but then under the conditions of DNA damage or stress response, the prophage can be induced, induction event can take place where the repressor will be cleaved and then you will have the lytic cycle. So in this case, let's see how exactly it takes place. So we from this diagram, if you remember, we have BOP prime and POB prime, correct? So here you have BOP prime and POB prime. So what will happen is it will now recombine, it will now loop out like this with the help of the enzyme called excisionase. So for integration, the enzyme was integrase. Yes. For integration, the enzyme is called integrase. For excision, the
Yes, ma'am.
enzyme is called excisionase. Okay. So
Yes.
as a result of action of this enzyme called excisionase, what will happen is that BOP prime will be regenerated and POP prime will be regenerated. So you have virus particles created and the bacterial DNA will be retained there. Okay, so this is one type of mechanism by which you can have this excision. But what happens is that, class, again you need to listen to me at this point carefully. So this is the excision which is called as a clean excision, because in this case the phage particle, the virus particle, is cleanly removed, right? And the bacterial DNA is cleanly maintained. For example, you got BOB prime and POP prime, right? So this is as a result of excisionase. You have the viral DNA regenerated in its native state, and bacterial DNA is also there in its native state. But what happens is that many a times it's like an abnormal or rare event that during this excisionase enzyme action, what happens is that during this excision, some of the bacterial DNA will also come in the phage DNA. This is a rare event, but then it does happen. Okay, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am. Then like
So,
BOB prime. Like you mentioned the name of the genes like biotin, and one was what?
right, gal.
Okay,
So,
so gal and biotin, it is found in a specific bacteria like E. coli, these three genes are found in many bacteria. If it is found in only E. coli, then the this phage can work for only and only what is called E. coli, and it cannot work
yes.
for any other bacteria.
Yes, so now you have asked two questions. So gal and bio, these are genes for galactose and biotin. So they are present in many bacteria. But then the point is gal and bio are not, they are present as independent entities. But then in case of E. coli, they are present flanking the at region, the lambda attachment site. So that is why lambda phage is very specific for E. coli. It doesn't work, for example, for gram positive bacteria. People have shown, so people have, I mean, artificially generated for example, you can clone. So with the advancement of recombinant DNA technology, what you can do is you can clone the LAMB gene, and then you can express the LAMB receptor in, for example, Vibrio cholerae, right? You can you can create a genome which has at site something like this. So this can be artificially done and then you can transfer the genes. So this is artificially possible, but naturally it is only and only E. coli.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, understood.
Okay. So where were we? Huh. So then, hope this lytic and lysogenic mechanism is clear. That for lysogeny you require integrase, and then the way the lysogeny takes place is by the at site, and for lytic cycle you require the enzyme excisionase, and then you have the lytic cycle. Correct?
Yes,
In
ma'am.
case-
Yes,
Ah,
ma'am.
right. So in this case, what is important for you to remember is I will not go into the details of the switch, but what is important to know over here is that there are two proteins called CRO protein and C1 repressor. So CRO protein actually favors lytic cycle and C1 repressors favors lysogeny. So that means when you have CRO repressor, CRO protein present in abundance, then you are going to get lytic cycle, and when you have C1 repressor present in abundance, then you are going to get lysogeny. Okay, so CRO protein turns off the synthesis of the C1 repressor, and thus it prevents the establishment of lysogeny. And these genes, these CRO and C1, they are actually transcribed by two different promoters, one going in the leftward direction and one going in the rightward direction. Okay, so the promoter going in the leftward directions, they are the ones which code for lytic enzymes, and the ones which are in the rightward direction, they encode for the lysogenic enzymes, which is shown in this figure. So so this is C1 and this is CRO. So this is in the left direction and this is in the right direction. I think I have one more figure. Let me see. Mm, from this one only, uh, or maybe from this one, right? So PL is the one for leftward genes and PR is the one for rightward genes. So it is called rightward transcription and left is for leftward transcription. So rightward transcription is for lysogeny and leftward transcription is for lytic cycle. The genes for lytic cycle are encoded by leftward genes. So there is a genetic switch which decides like which cycle to be switched on. So at the molecular level, these are regulated by proteins. So as I told you that CRO protein favors lysis, lytic cycle, and C1 favors lysogeny. But how exactly
Um,
this switch is controlled? So for that actually we need to understand the structure of the promoter and what are operators. So I thought I will discuss about this genetic switch when I have taught you people transcription. But for now, I hope for understanding transduction, it is important for you to understand lytic cycle, lysogenic cycle, the mechanism of integrations, the mechanism of excision. So I hope this part is clear to you.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, one question like there at the promoter, like one goes from leftward and one goes in rightward. So RNA polymerase once transcribes in one direction and for another it transcribes in another direction.
Right.
How that happens? Like in that case, the template DNA should be in one side in one strand and in opposite side for the another. Yes.
Right. But then let's talk about promoters when I will be teaching you transcription, Ratnesh. I think
Okay, ma'am.
maybe in another 2-3 classes. So let me finish off with transduction today. Then I think I'll teach you DNA sequencing, DNA replication, and then transcription. So maybe when you will understand the structure of promoter, then I'll again come back to this switch, the genetic switch. But I hope this cycle is clear, right? And the mechanism.
So, ma'am,
Yes.
switch is just like when in which direction it is transcribing.
Right.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Lytic or lysogenic. So
Okay.
accordingly, when it is when you have lytic cycle, then that means the PL promoter is on. When you have lysogenic cycle, that means the PR promoter is on. Right?
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. So since you have understood now lambda phage ki life cycle, so let's now discuss the transduction, the two methods of transduction. One is called generalized transduction, which is mediated by P1 or P22, and specialized transduction, which is mediated by lambda. So this is a typical diagram of generalized transduction. So this is mediated by lytic phages such as P1 or P22. So in this case, as you see in the diagram, the phage P1 or P22, it binds the E. coli cell. Again, so point number one, P1 phage doesn't require a very specific receptor like LAMB. Okay, so P1 can recognize E. coli. P1 also works for certain other bacteria, not many bacteria, but still the host range is broader as compared to lambda. Okay, so what is shown in the diagram is the bacterial cell and the host chromosomal DNA. The P1 phage binds and then it infects. The moment it infects the bacterial cell, so what happens is that the phage enzyme, okay, the enzyme produced by P1 phage, it will start breaking the DNA, breaking the chromosomal DNA of bacteria into pieces, right? So the phage enzyme will start breaking the chromosomal DNA of the bacteria into pieces. The phage DNA itself will start replicating, and as a result of this, it will start expressing the phage coat proteins, as a result of which the phage DNA will start assembling, I mean the phage particles will start assembling. So what you can see is that these are the phage particles. But then what happens is that, so this you need to understand carefully. So this phage cannot discriminate between its own DNA and host DNA. So that is why this transduction is called generalized transduction, because it is generalized. The phage cannot discriminate between phage DNA and the host DNA. So as a result of this, what will happen is that there will be two types of virus particles created. But type 1, which contains phage DNA, that is its own DNA, and type 2, which contains the bacterial DNA, the host DNA. And in this case class, the bacterial DNA is solely present. It doesn't contain any traces of viral DNA. And that is why in this case you can package 100 kb of complete foreign DNA without even zero point 0.1 kb of foreign DNA, of phage DNA. So therefore what happens is that because you have created two types of virions, one which contain phage DNA and one which contain chromosomal DNA. So what happens is that when such a phage which contains chromosomal DNA in it, when such a phage will infect another bacterial cell which is called as recipient bacterium. So in this case the infection will take place, but then the lysis will not take place. Why? Because the DNA is not phage DNA, the DNA is bacterial DNA. Correct? Class,
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
so the DNA is bacterial DNA, so therefore phage proteins, phage assembly, nothing will happen. But what will happen is the DNA will be released, and this DNA, depending upon the homology, will recombine with the host chromosome, and the trait will be transferred in the genome of the chromosome. And that is why generalized transduction is used for transferring the traits from one bacterial cell to another bacterial cell, and it is one of the easiest and fastest, like it's very rapid, very easy method for transferring traits. For example, you have a can sensitive bacteria, you can make it can resistance. For example, you want to transfer, let's say, an operon, and the point is you can transfer up to 100 kb without any trouble. So you can transfer the entire operon, an entire cluster of genes, in a new host. So what is shown over here is A plus B plus, and then the recipient was A minus. So as a result of transduction, it became A plus. The technique is called generalized transduction because of its generalized nature. It can transfer almost any DNA of the host into another host. I hope it is clear.
Yes, ma'am. But ma'am, can you talk about like how it is ensured that in virus head only bacterial DNA is packaged.
No,
I
it is
didn't.
not ensured. It is not possible. So that is why two types of virus particles are created. So you will have some where you have bacterial DNA and you will have some where you have phage DNA. So ultimately when you will do the infection, because you have a selection pressure, you can select the colonies, right? So for example, you can select, let's say, colonies on galactose media, you can select colonies on biotin media, you can select colonies on antibiotic plates, right?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, okay.
So that is why you can discriminate.
Yes, ma'am. I got it.
Right. So this is another, okay, so hope generalized transduction, maybe from this diagram. So here they have shown with lac operon. So this is P1 which has infected. The host chromosome is lac plus. The recipient is lac minus, right? So phage genome has entered. Phage enzyme has started disrupting the chromosomal DNA, breaking it into smaller pieces. Phage DNA is also there. You can see that phage particles are created, some which contain the host chromosomal DNA, some which contain the phage DNA. Some can contain the blue DNA as well. So in the figure they have shown only the yellow one, but some will contain many types of DNA. The point is that the number of particles that are created are too many. So you imagine like 1000 or 2000 phage particles created per hour. So the titer is very high. And that is why even if you have out of, let's say, 1 million, even if you have like 10,000 which contain phage DNA, you still have a chance of getting the desired phenotype. So over here you see the host cell lysis, and then when this phage infects the lac minus E. coli, you see that the lac minus E. coli becomes lac plus now, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, let's see specialized transduction. So specialized transduction mediated by lambda phage. And as we discussed, it's very specific. So you see phage chromosome, this is gal and bio, and we have discussed this that the integration is going to happen at the at site between gal and bio, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So what I wanted to show over here was, in case of a clean excision, you can have gal bio maintained, but in case of an excision which is abnormal, so in such cases, some part of the chromosome can also come. So for example, in this case, in the phage DNA, some part of gal DNA has also come. So this gal DNA can now be transferred to the next host. So this is a better picture shown over here. This is the integration and this is abnormal excision. Let me make it big. So you see over here that you have lambda D gal. So you see that following. So the point is that in case of clean excision, you can have the entire phage DNA, but in case of abnormal outlooping, you can have some part of chromosomal DNA also coming in along with the phage DNA, right?
Ma'am, but how this why this excision happens? Like,
Why this excision happens? So this
yes.
excision happens, for example, when you have some kind of stress. So there are
So, ma'am,
proteins.
at that time, this point is like weak point. So this is here excision happens.
Hmm.
Okay, ma'am.
So weak point, let's not use this term in science. So here exactly the mechanisms have been actually worked out. So the way it works is, Ratnesh, so as a result of DNA damage, right, or any kind of stress, an SOS response is induced. And in this
Ma'am,
SOS response is like stress response. And in this
so
stress
ma'am,
response,
my question is that this excision can happen not just at the where the virus is integrated, it can happen anywhere in the bacterial chromosome.
It can happen anywhere in the chromosome, yes, but then in the bacterial cell there are repair enzymes, repair pathways working all the time, which take care of all kinds of repair. So what happens is that the moment such kinds of damage happen, then repair pathways get activated and they repair. But what happens is that in case of specialized transduction, this repair doesn't work because the enzyme, the protein lex A, right, so which is so the rec A enzyme, which is produced as a result of this SOS response. So this rec A induces lex A, and this lex A is structurally very similar to the repressor protein, and therefore structure, because of this structural similarity, this gets degraded and excision takes place. But we'll be discussing this when I'll be teaching you promoters, the transcription.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, then.
But otherwise, it's mediated. It's not like the sequence. It's something to do with protein. So the rec A protein is the repair protein, and then this rec A induces lex A, and lex A is structurally similar to the repressor protein, and the moment the repressor is removed, the excision will take place and the lytic cycle will be turned on. But this abnormal, so you have normal excision, but sometimes you have rare abnormal outlooping, as a result of which uh, the chromosomal DNA also gets packaged, and therefore when such a lambda phage will infect the bacterial cell, then in fact it will transfer along with it the chromosomal DNA, and that is why it is said that in specialized transduction you can transfer only specialized genes, only transfer genes that flank the specific insertion site. Right, in generalized transduction you can transfer almost any gene, but in specialized transduction only the genes which are flanking the insertion site. And the applications of transduction are, you can transfer many genes for drug resistance, any kind of genome engineering is possible. By this, any kind of genetic engineering applications are also possible, and it can be also used for genome mapping. uh, but before that, let me show you a quick video. So I can see Dhwani is there. Dhwani, would you like to add on? I think her topic was on uh,
Yes,
lytic
it was.
lysogenic cycle or something, right?
Yes, ma'am. It was the switch between the two. So yeah, so if the cycle chooses, so if
Just 1 second, Dhwani. Can you hold on just 1 second? Let me
yeah,
quickly show the students the video. Just 1 second. It's a small 1 minute video class, but it will make the transduction process really clear. Class, can you see it or no?
In generalized transduction, a segment of DNA is carried from one bacterial cell to another by a bacterial virus called a bacteriophage or phage. The phage attaches to the bacterial cell and injects its nucleic acid into the host cell. A phage enzyme is produced that breaks down the host DNA into smaller fragments. Phage DNA is replicated and phage coat proteins are produced. During formation of the mature phage particles, a few phage heads may surround fragments of bacterial DNA instead of phage DNA. The phage particle carrying the bacterial DNA infects another cell, transferring the bacterial DNA to the new cell. When the bacterial DNA is introduced into the new host cell, it can become integrated into the bacterial chromosome, thereby transferring genes to the recipient. This cell then multiplies and carries new genetic material.
Was generalized transduction class.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So hope it was clear.
Specialized
Yes.
transduction involves the transfer of only a few specific genes from one bacterial cell to another by means of a phage. The lambda phage, which infects E. coli, is a well-studied example of a specialized transducing phage. When lambda phage infects E. coli, the phage DNA enters the cell and then integrates into a specific site on the host chromosome. When an E. coli culture carrying the lambda phage is induced, phage particles are produced. On rare occasions, a piece of bacterial DNA, for example the GAL gene, near the specific site of insertion remains attached to the phage DNA, and a piece of phage DNA is left behind. The phage that develop are defective because they do not carry the entire phage genome, but can still infect other cells. The defective phage can attach to another bacterial cell, and the DNA can be injected. Both phage and bacterial DNA now become integrated into the new host chromosome. Only bacterial genes located near the site of integration of the phage DNA can be transduced, hence the term specialized transduction.
So it was clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Dhwani. Dhwani, you were saying something.
Yes.
Continue.
Yeah, I was just I'm explaining my term paper topic particularly. So there is a very sophisticated lytic to lysogenic switch which exists in phages. So basically, what they do is for as an intention of a phage, the phage wants to infect as many bacterial cells as it possibly can. So if it senses, so there is a mechanism to do this. If it senses that there is a healthy bacterial population around it, then when it infects a bacterial cell, it will make sure to pick the lytic cycle and to infect as many bacteria as possible. But if it senses that the environment isn't particularly helpful for bacterial growth, so it will decide to hold back for the time being and pick the lysogenic cycle. And it may replicate for generations to come in the bacteria itself. So once it senses that there is some problem in the bacterial cell, that problem can be somewhat like DNA damage. So that would be an ideal time for the phage to switch to the lytic cycle because that would allow it to maximize its transmission. So therefore, in that case, it carries on the SOS response, which is so it induces basically, and there is this complicated switch that allows it to basically switch to the lytic cycle, and that would probably take a little more time to explain, but yeah.
No, that's fine, Dhwani. So we'll discuss the switch when I'll be teaching you people the transcription process because we haven't discussed the structure of promoters. So the students will not be able to appreciate operators, etc. So that is why I think so hope this process of generalized and specialized transduction, the difference between N13, P1, P22, lambda, these are clear. The method of integration, integrase, excisionase, these are clear, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, so
Yes,
then maybe the mapping of genome, I think I'll discuss in tomorrow's class. You people have another class now?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
yes, ma'am.
Right, so maybe we'll discuss the mapping of the genome. It will not take much time, so we'll discuss in tomorrow's class, and then Sanger sequencing and M13 based sequencing methods we'll discuss in tomorrow's class, and thereafter I think only 3 topics are left: DNA replication, regulation, transcription, regulation, translation, regulation. So we'll be able to cover.
Ma'am?
Yes, Devpriya.
Ma'am, so right now, like now it is confirmed that
November is the